Hey friends, it's Lisa Mears here. Thanks for joining me. In this video, I'm going to be sharing the brand new Scrap Diva Designs April release, which is a country western theme, and it's so much fun. There are lots of dies. There's also a fun paper collection, and I'll be sharing some of the products with you today. Now, there are several more products in this release, and those are over on the Scrap Diva Designs website. I will have a link to all of the products that you see here today, as well as where to go to find other products in this release. And if you're interested in purchasing anything, be sure to use my coupon code Lisa Mears to save 10% off your order. After I share these products, be sure to stay tuned to the end because I will be making some cards and sharing some other cards that I've made with these products. So the first die set I want to share is the Disco Ball mini album. Now, even though it has the word mini album in its title, you can totally use this to make a card, which is what I'm going to be doing with you today. But there are 3 dies in here. There are a few layering dies, and then you have that die up on the top there that has all of the lines in it. But this is such a fun die. And if you're wondering, this die is about 6¼ inches tall. That includes that little circular shape at the very top of the die, and then going across, it is about 5½ inches wide. And keep in mind that if you're making cards with these dies, you don't have to use all of the layers. And I'm going to show you some things in here in a little bit. Okay, so this die is the Cowboy Hat mini album die, and it has this fun cowboy hat. There's also a die to make a bow, and there's some stars. That die measures about 7 inches wide by 4½ inches tall. There's also the Cowboy Boots mini album die set. They have the cowboy boot. There's also some stars you can use to decorate the cowboy boot. And that one is 6½ inches by 5⅛ inch. Next is the cowboy bundle. So this is what it looks like. You have a set of horseshoes. There's also a cowboy boot, a cowboy hat. There's also a cactus. There's some lizards there. You can use these for your cards or scrapbook pages. I'm going to show you what each one of these looks like once they're die cut, so stay tuned for that. Next is the Desert Rose flower set, and there are several different flowers on here. You can actually layer these up. So there's 3 different sizes. There's a large, a medium, and a small. You can use them individually or layered, and I'll be using those later on in this video, so you'll see how you can layer those. And then finally are the cowboy word dies, and there are lots of fun cowboy themed words such as wanted. You can say wanted cowboy or wanted cowgirl. There's also howdy, let's go girls, Wild West, and yeehaw, and I'll be using those in some of my projects today. And then finally, we have the paper collection, and it includes an ephemera pack. There's also some chipboard stickers and the 12x12 paper pad called Cowgirl Dreams. So first I want to start out by showing you the 12x12 paper. There are 24 sheets. They are double-sided sheets. You get 2 of each design. So here is some fun polka dots. That's the brown or khaki color. And then on the back are tags. So you can use these tags for gifts, or you can use them on your cards or scrapbook pages the way that you see them. You can just cut them out of that paper. We also have a sheet of cactuses. And on the reverse side is a pink piece of pattern paper, and it has all of these little cowboys and cowgirls with the word wanted underneath. There's a page with the desert rose flower, and on the reverse is a blue with pink cowboy boots and some flowers. That's so pretty. We also have a sheet of pink and white stars. And then on the reverse of that is the teal cowboy boots with the flowers coming out of the boot. There's also a disco ball with a cowboy hat. Here's a teal blue pattern. And then on the reverse are some words. It says cowboy, yeehaw, wanted, and Wild West. Here is a yellow with white polka dot pattern, and on the reverse we have some cowboy hats. There's some farm animals and horseshoes. Here is a cow pattern in pink, and then on the reverse are some cows with a black cow print on a pink background. And then here is a checkerboard pattern, and then on the reverse we have some more cowboy boots and cowboy hats and disco ball. Here is a brown, it has some horizontal lines on it, and then on the reverse we have a saloon and cowboy hats with a teal background. Here is a red design, and then we have a teal background with some cactus and cowboy boots and hats. And then we have a blue design with, I love this one, it is a blue background with some pink horseshoes and flowers, and there's some teal flowers as well. And then we have some hot pink cowboy boots, and then some cactus with some teal flowers on a lighter pink background. And then that is the 12 by 12 paper collection, but there's also a piece of acetate, and that acetate sheet is a separate purchase. It's not included with the paper collection. And the acetate is a 12 by 12 sheet, and it's the same design that you see here in the paper. It's that pink cow print. So that's the Cowgirl Dreams paper collection, and then we have the chipboard stickers, and there are 2 sheets of these stickers. So I'll bring these close so you can see what they look like. So we have the word wanted, there's some flowers and cowboys and boots, cowboy hat. I love that girl with the glue gun, so cute. And then here's another sheet with the cowgirl, disco ball, another girl with the glue gun. She's so cute with the cowboy boots. Okay, so those are the chipboard stickers, and then we have the ephemera pack. I'm going to go ahead and open the ephemera pack and lay everything out so you can see what's in here. So here's everything that's included. You do get 2 of each one of the pieces that you see here. There are some words like howdy and yeehaw, wanted, cowgirl. A lot of these words are also in that set, the die set that I showed you earlier, which is the I think it was the cowboy words die set. So if you wanted more of those, you can always purchase the dies and make your own. There's also lots of cowgirl boots in different colors, pinks and blues and browns. There's also teal. There's also some disco balls, teals and pinks. There's even some with the cowgirl hats. And then we have some large die cut pieces, a cowboy and a cowgirl. There's also several flowers in here. There's also a bow. There's also some horseshoes and some cactus and so much more. Okay, so I want to start out by making a card using this disco ball die set. So I'll go ahead and show you what's included here. You have 3 dies. The very large one that has the little round top. It has a hole in the middle. You can also use this die set for a tag. You don't have to use it for a card. You can use it for a scrapbook album and put a little album ring through that hole. I'll be making a card with that die set today using some scrapbook.com paper, including this holographic mirror paper. Has lots of silvers and gold sparkly papers in here. I'll also be bringing in some of their glossy cardstock, including the pastel paper pad. I love these glossy cardstock packs because the paper is so thick and it's so shiny. There's also the rainbow glossy cardstock pack. I'll be using this pink piece in that pack, and I'll also be bringing in some white cardstock from the classic glossy white and black paper pad. So starting out, I took the die that has all of the lines on it and die cut a piece of the hot pink glossy cardstock from the rainbow glossy paper pad. And I'm just using my scrapbook.com Craft Pick Pro tool, and I'm popping out all of those little pieces onto my magic mat, which the magic mat is the bottom mat in my die cutting machine, and I just brought it over here to my table and left that die on that mat just so that I can keep all of those pieces together. I want to save some of these pieces because I want to be able to piece these back in to the outline die. So I'm using some of my scrapbook.com 4-inch mint tape and just putting it over top of those pieces in order to keep those pieces together and save them. I'm going to go ahead and remove that mint tape with those small die cuts from my magic mat. And then I'll be able to set that aside and use that to piece those pieces into the disco ball. I also have the die cut piece that came out of that die, which is here, and I'll set that aside. So I did this a total of 3 times. I have 3 different colors. I have one in the hot pink glossy cardstock. I have one in the pastel pink glossy cardstock, and then one in the metallic silver cardstock. I don't actually end up using the silver one. I actually die cut one of the white glossy cardstock instead of the silver because I decided to use the silver for my base layer, so I took the stitched circle die and die cut that silver metallic cardstock. There's the white layer that I die cut, so you can see the 3 different colors that I have here to choose from to add on top of that silver circle. I think these are so pretty. You really can't go wrong with any color that you choose. I'm going to go ahead and put glue on the back of this white die cut piece with all of the lines on it, and I'm going to add that to the silver circle. I love all of that sparkly silver paper coming through. It's so pretty. Next, I'm going to piece in the pieces from the hot pink and the pastel pink die cuts. I've already done the hot pink, and now I'm just adding in some of the pastel pink squares into this disco ball, and I'm just putting a few. Obviously, we don't want to cover this whole thing. We want to keep a lot of that silver showing, but I think just to piece in a few of the pieces, and it doesn't matter where you put them because just adding that touch of pink, it just gives it that extra little bit of color to make this disco ball really pop. And of course, if you don't want to have to deal with all of those little die cut pieces, you can skip this step and then just put the white layer on top or the pink layer on top and have the cardstock show through all of the squares. This is just an extra step for me because I wanted to add that little pop of pink because I think it's so fun and so pretty. So now that I finished with that, I'm going to take out these cowboy bundle dies, and I'm going to be using the cowboy boot. I die cut it twice out of the pastel pink cardstock, and then I die cut a piece of brown cardstock for the bottom of the boot. I'm just gluing the brown cardstock right onto the bottom of that boot. Now that boot also has some stars that go with it, and I die cut the stars out of some hot pink cardstock, and I'm just going to glue all of those stars onto the boot. You don't have to use the stars if you don't want to, but if you want to add a little bit of extra to style these boots up, you have that option. Could die cut those out of some glitter paper and make them really sparkly. That would be so pretty too. I'm using my scrapbook.com Craft Pick Pro tool, the wax tip, to pick up all of those tiny little stars because they're so small, and to get those into my hands and try to get the glue on them and place them, it would be a little difficult. So the wax tip is so easy because it actually just picks them up and you can put them where you want them. So now I'm going to create the sentiment, and the sentiment that I'm using is the Let's Go Girls, and I die cut the shadow layer out of the white glossy cardstock and then the text or the words out of the glossy hot pink cardstock, and I'm just gluing those together. And then I'm going to add them to the front of this disco ball. So I'll just go ahead and glue those in place. I am going to put some foam on the back of the boot that is going to be on top, just so that it's popped up a little bit in front of the one that's glued to the disco ball. So if you're making this into a card, I just want to point out again that just these 2 layers, This is about 5.5 inches. It's just a little bit under 5.5 inches. And you would have to use a square envelope in order for this to fit inside. It's not going to fit in an envelope that measures for an A2 size card because it's bigger than that. Now there's this other layering piece. If you choose to use it, it's going to make your card a little bit bigger because it does have that little hole at the top. If you do choose to use this piece to make a card, keep in mind your card will be about 6.25 inches by about 5.5 inches. So you'll have to use even a bigger envelope, like one that is 6.5 inches. Now you could always have the option of cutting off the top piece if you still wanted to have that other color of a layer underneath. So you can just follow along the line of that circle and use your scissors and cut that off, and then add the decorated disco ball right to the top. And that would put it at about 5.5 inches wide, and you can use a 6-inch envelope to fit that inside. I really like the way it looks by adding that pink layer underneath. It just really brings out the pink and makes it pop even more. So let's go ahead and add this to a card base. To do so, just take a piece of 8.5 inch by 11-inch of cardstock, fold it in half, and take that large die. And you're going to place the top edge of the die slightly over the fold in the cardstock and run that through your die cutting machine. And when that comes out of your die cutting machine, you have your card base. And then you can just glue that top decorated layer right on top of the card base. Now I want to show you what these other pieces look like from the cowboy bundle once they're die cut. So there you have the lizard, you also have the horseshoes, and these can be layered together. You die cut those in all different colors and layer them. You also have the cowboy hat. It has a few different pieces. I'm going to go ahead and glue this together so you can see how it works. You have this little piece that goes at the bottom of the cowboy hat. And then you also have this little piece that goes right across the center. And then this die is finished. It's so stinking cute. And then you also have the cactus. I die cut that out of some teal cardstock. This other little piece that comes with the cactus there that I'm using foam to add to, and that just goes down the center of the cactus and it just adds some dimension to your cactus. There's also some little, what looks like little hearts that you can put on the cactus. I die cut those out of some pink cardstock, and I'm just going to add those to the top of the cactus. Here's a closer look at what this cactus will look once it's finished. Then here's the horseshoes. As I mentioned earlier, these can be layered together. So you have a solid piece at the bottom. I die cut that out of white, and then you have the piece on the top, which I die cut out of pink, and it has the holes in it. So you can see the white within those holes. So I'll use all of those pieces to make another disco ball. And here I want to just show you what I'm going to do with the sentiment. I went ahead and die cut the word howdy out of the silver mirror cardstock and added it to white cardstock. And I die cut it again out of brown, and I'm just offsetting the brown and the silver cardstock just so you could see a little bit of that silver peeking through for that sentiment. I'm also going to bring in that Desert Rose flower set. I die cut it out of some light pink, white, and hot pink cardstock, and you can see how the 3 different layers layer together. So you have a large flower, a medium-sized flower, and a small flower, and I'm just layering those together, and I just put glue around the middle of each of those flowers. I didn't put it on the back of any of the petals because I want to be able to pop those up, and I didn't want them sticking together. So now I'm just going to use this disco ball and put some of these die cuts that I just put together from that cowboy bundle, as well as the sentiment and the Desert Rose flower set. And I'll go ahead and arrange those on this disco ball to make another card. I added a silver gem to the middle of the flower to add a little bit more sparkle. And to add even more sparkle, I'm going to bring in my silver glitter pops of color. And I'm going to add some of those pops of color on to the petals as well as some of those other die cuts. I'm just going to squeeze a little bit of that pops of color onto the tip of a paintbrush and then paint the pops of color on to those die cuts. For my next disco ball, I added the Cowgirl with the hot glue gun. I think she's so cute. That was from the chipboard stickers. I added a couple of the flowers there as well. And I added the sentiment Wanted Cowgirl. And I put it on a brown shadow with hot pink for the words, and I want to make these words really pop, so I'm taking a white gel pen and I'm just tracing those letters in a thin line so you can see the white in the center of the pink letters. So when I hold this close, you can see a little bit better what that looks like. And now I'm going to take the pops of color and I'm going to paint on some of that glitter onto those petals to add some more sparkle. So here I want to show you real quick, this is an envelope that is a 6.5-inch square envelope, and this will fit perfectly inside of that envelope. Keep in mind that a square envelope does cost more postage. Next, I want to make a cowgirl hat using the Cowboy Hat mini album die set. I'm going to take this top layer and I'm going to die cut this piece of pattern paper with the cactuses and the flowers. And then I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to die cut this piece that goes towards the bottom of the hat. There's also another piece that goes right in the middle, and I die cut that out of some silver glitter cardstock. So to put this hat together, it's very simple, and it's just like putting the small hat together like I did earlier. It has a lot of the same pieces, but it's so super easy to do. This hat also comes with a bow, so if you wanted to use a bow, you can. It also comes with stars, so if you wanted to add stars to your hat, you can do that as well. I'm going to go ahead and add this bow. I am going to layer up some of the hot pink pattern paper with some silver glitter cardstock. And I'm just going to offset a little bit so you can see a little bit of the pink in the background. The silver glitter is going to be showing on the top with the pink in the background. And then those two pieces are just going to be glued together to create the bow. And then there's a piece that goes right in the middle. I'm going to add some foam to the back so that it's popped up on the bow, and I'll add that to the middle. There is another layering die for the hat. There's a total of 3 hat dies in this set, and I'm going to use the middle one, which is the stitched die, and I die cut a piece of the hot pink. This is the pattern paper, but if you didn't want to waste the pattern paper, you can always just take a piece of hot pink solid cardstock and layer that underneath. It really makes that pop. And then the largest hat die, I die cut out of some silver glitter paper because I need to add some bling to this. And I'm going to add that as my final layer. This hat also comes with some stars. You can always use those and add some stars to the hat. But I already have that pattern paper and I don't want to add anything else to it. So I'm not going to use the star die. You can see that I added the bow and then I added the sentiment Yeehaw to the top. And now I'm just going to create a card base by folding a piece of 8.5-inch by 11-inch white cardstock. And I'm going to take the largest hat die and I'm going to position the die so that it is slightly to the left of that fold in the cardstock. I'm going to use some mint tape to hold this down. You can see here that the top of that hat die is slightly over that fold. Once I run this through my die cutting machine, I'm going to have the card base, and then I'm just going to add the hat to the card base. But before I do that, I want to point out that when you look at the back of the hat and the back of the cardstock, they're actually two different color whites. I want this to be one solid color white on the back, so I'm just going to take that same hat die, again this is the largest die, and die cut the same color white cardstock that I used for the card base, and I'm going to add that to the back of my decorated hat. So once I add that to the back of that decorated hat, when I add the card base now to the back, it's all going to be one solid white color when you look at this card from behind. You can see when I turn it over, the very top part of that card is now all one solid color of white. So this die measures about 7 inches wide from the longest edge to the longest edge, and it measures about 4.5 inches tall. So you totally can use this and put it in a larger envelope. Here I have an envelope for a 5x7 card, and you can see that it fits perfectly inside of that envelope. Here's another card that I made using this same cowboy hat die. This one I did in blues and whites. I think this is so pretty. You can really change the look up of this card depending on your papers. If you're interested in knowing the papers I've used for this card, I will have them linked in the description box below as well as on my coordinating blog post. So moving on, I want to show you how easy it is to make this cowboy boot. So I'm going to go ahead and take the solid die, and I'm going to die cut a piece of pattern paper, and I chose to use this pink and blue pattern paper from the new Scrap Diva paper collection. I'm going to take the reverse of that and die cut the bottom part of the boot. Again, this is the solid die. That's going to be the base of the boot. And here's what they look like when they come out of the die cut machine. You have the solid blue that will go at the bottom. Next, I'm going to take the stitched die. This is the middle die. I die cut a piece of hot pink cardstock. You can see that that's going to layer underneath the blue. And then I'm going to take this piece, this is the sole of the boot or the heel of the boot, and I'm going to die cut a piece of this brown pattern paper from the new Scrap Diva paper collection. And that piece is going to go right at the bottom of your finished boot. Then the final die is the largest die. I die cut that out of white cardstock. So here I'm just going to glue all of the pieces together to create this boot. I want you to think of all of the different color possibilities that you can use to create a fun cowgirl or even cowboy boot. You can really change this up and make it your own. Now this solid piece that goes at the base of the boot, I am putting some foam on the back because I do want this to pop up. I want to add some dimension to this boot, and by adding some foam to this piece, it's going to give it that dimension. So I'm just lining it up here, making sure everything is straight and even, and then I'm going to add that entire piece to the pink boot. And then that piece will be added to the white boot. This boot also comes with stars. I did die cut the stars out of some pink cardstock. I will be adding them to the solid blue part. So I'm just positioning them where I want them, and then I'll glue them all down. I am using the Sentiment Yeehaw for this one. I've already put that together, and I'm just going to add some white flowers. This time I'm not layering these flowers. I'm just going to use the white, and I will be adding a center for these flowers, a little pink center. Then I'll add this to a card base. So I'm going to take a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper or cardstock, fold it in half, and place the left edge of that boot slightly over the fold in the cardstock. Once I run that through my die cutting machine, it gives me my card base, and I'll add glue to the top of that, and then I'm going to add the finished boot right to the top. And I did die cut that white layer that's at the bottom of the boot with the same color white cardstock as the card base, so I don't need to worry about die cutting an extra layer. It's all one color white on the back side. So there's my card. I think this is so much fun and so easy to put together. I also made another card using some different papers. These are some papers from scrapbook.com, and you can really change up the look of your cowboy boot depending on what papers you use. If you're interested in finding out the papers I use for that card, I will have them linked in the description below and on my blog. You can also see that this boot will fit in an envelope meant for a 5x7-inch card. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. I will have all product links down in the description box below. And if you're interested in purchasing anything from Scrap Diva Designs, be sure to use my coupon code Mears to save 10% off your order. I would love to know what your favorite product is in this brand new Scrap Diva release, so leave me a comment down below. And be sure to take a look at the link in the description box to see everything that's included in this release. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you like videos like this and want to see more, don't forget to click that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.